Hello, everybody. We are here with our teacher feature, and I have Nikki Luckin with me today. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jennifer Weibert with Weibert Science, and I specialize in training teachers with great strategies to get your students more engaged, and I love notebooking, and we're going to talk a whole bunch of different things tonight. So Nikki, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Nikki Luckin, and let's see, I've known Jennifer for, 15 years. She's trained me and we've become great friends, and I've learned a lot from her. I teach at Fairmont Elementary. It's a TK through 8 in Sanger, California, and I teach 7th and 8th grade science, and I've been doing it for about 22 years, so a really long time. I'm also a full-time mom, so I'm doing this from my car right now as I'm waiting for my son's tennis practice to be over.
Well, thank you for coming and giving up your time. Let's get started with this. Sense making in your classroom is where we want to talk about today. Just in general, give us a rundown of sense making in your classroom. Junior high, what happens in there?
Well, I like to use a lot of templates for students to support their learning. So I'm always helping out with making designs on pages so they can fill in the blank so they know what I want. I felt like over the years using blank pages for them is really overwhelming. And I really want to direct their learning so I can get an idea of their sense making. And you also see I used lots of whiteboards. And that way, as a teacher, for me, I can really quickly get some direction from the students of what they understand and what they don't understand. And then from there, we usually tend to go to notebooks.
Great. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. We're going to talk about some of the work you do, and we're just here chatting, but when we're done, I'm going to put that work in the comments down below so people can take a look at what we're referencing as we talk through this. So you always start with a teacher template, correct?
I do. And I really use those templates because I really want to make sure that I want this content to be what I want it to be, I guess, right? Like, I want to make sure the students are adding to their notebooks or whiteboard what I want them to learn. So I'll use templates a lot. I'll go to my assessments, whether that's a mid-unit assessment, summative task, and I'll make sure that when I'm designing templates that I pull information, I guess, from those summative assessments or mid-unit assessments, and I make sure almost like there's an example in the template because I do want them eventually to be able to use it as a resource later as we're learning different content.
Okay, so start with the teacher template. You create that. Students then use it to help with their assignments. So from the template, you transition over to a whiteboard usually for the kids to work on.
Correct. There are almost every assignment. We do a template and then they'll actually put that template on their whiteboard first. And that way I can walk around as a teacher and I can see what work they're doing really, really easily. I can troubleshoot. I can ask extension questions for students that are getting the content super easy. So that's nice. I might ask lower level questions to students that might need a little extra assistance and help guide them to the right answer. And I feel like with my old eyes, those huge whiteboards, they're like 2x3, are super easy for me to troubleshoot and guide students. It's a great way you can use them. Well, okay, so participation sometimes, right? I'm middle school, and sometimes teachers are like, well, not all the kids are participating. I've really tried to go to 3 people in a group this year, if you can. So that's helped. And then I also like the strategy where each student will get a different colored whiteboard pen. And you need to make sure that all of the colors are on the board. So that way everyone is participating in their whiteboard work.
Perfect. Those are some good tips there with the whiteboarding. So kids get to use the whiteboards. We talk about making public thinking and you getting to walk the room and see what's happening before things go final on paper with that. So after the whiteboards, then what happens with their notebooks?
So then once they've gotten approval from me, they can then transfer that whiteboard work to their notebook. And I do require words pictures and color when they are transferring to their notebook. I want their notebooks to be a resource. So I'm very intentional about what they put on the whiteboard and what gets transferred to the notebook, because I do feel like it's an important resource for them. I don't want them just to fill it out and never go back to it again. So the students know, they know the rules and habits, and they can always go back and use those pages on assessments as a resource for them.
That's great. Can we say worksheets versus student generated work without a worksheet on your notebook? What does that look like for you?
Well, I hardly ever use worksheets in my notebook. I feel like I get more buy-in. Students aren't bored, I guess, using worksheets all the time. So even when we go from a whiteboard to the notebook, it's still student-centered. Like none of my notebooks look identical in the classroom, because they get to put their own thoughts. They get to be creative, maybe with the pictures that they're drawing or the examples that you're using, depending on what activity we're doing. So I like that choice. And oh, man, to see some of the work that the students do, they are so creative. Like, they're more creative than me sometimes when they're coming up with models. And so I just appreciate that part of notebooks, because they take more ownership of their work, because I'm not asking them fill in blanks and they all have the same answer.
Agreed on that. There's times and places for fill in the blanks. I don't even mind some notes being done with filled in the blanks. The thing we need to remember is there needs to be processing time after. So if you're using that as a note-taking strategy, I need another page in the notebook with processing showing they understood what they just filled in, right? So whether you're doing that through some fill in the blank worksheet or from a whiteboard, it's the same thing where they process individually on paper in the notebook, correct?
Right. Yes. And you could use a tool that I would use as graphic notes. So you might have your fill in the blank notes, but maybe they come up with pictures for that section of notes. And you as a teacher can decide, what section of notes, I guess, you would want those students to be drawing, maybe a model for, or a picture for, to help them process what they're reading about or listening about as they're watching a video or an article, or maybe you're doing some lecture, whatever that may be.
Correct. So if we recap this, it's really important to have a teacher created template that the kids know they're going to use on a whiteboard, and then later use that same template in the notebook, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And you don't have to use a whiteboard for every single activity. That would probably be redundant. Like you were talking about fill in the blank notes, you might not want to use a whiteboard for that. But there are definitely some places where you need that group work. And I, as a teacher, have to take that lap around the room to make sure that students are understanding the concepts before that final piece goes into their notebook.
Correct. I really love that makes notebook pages stand out and individualized. It's ownership of their learning compared to everything being the same. So it's great to hear that about these sense-making strategies happening in your classroom with this. If you're interested in knowing more and learning more, my Take Better Notes package is a great place to start. We talk about sketchnoting, we talk about template making. It really changes your assignments over to something like you've never witnessed before. It'll be great for you for student engagement. And then whiteboarding, I have a feature coming out soon that you can go catch and learn more about whiteboarding. And educate yourself on that and get those strategies going too. So look for that coming out on my website in a few weeks here. That'll be ready for you. And hey, don't forget, you can always pick up the all access package and join me this summer for some live virtual training. And we can totally get your classroom running the way Nikki's does. Known Nikki for about 15 years. And it's just so cool to see how her classroom has grown and changed. Any last comments, Nikki?
No, thank you so much, you guys. And if you ever have any questions, you are more than welcome to message me. I'd be happy to answer them. I love teaching other teachers too, as much as I love teaching junior high kids. So just let me know and I'd be happy